Welcome to PaleoRadio, folks. We're really sorry for the cold intro. We've got a lot of things changing here in studio, which is a great thing. It's a lot of positives, but because of that, we've had a little bit of hiccups here getting started. My name is Joe Elder.
And I'm Jeremiah Bannister, scrambling around trying to figure out about my headphone jack and saying, man, why aren't any of the knobs on this headphone thing working? And then I realize I'm totally plugged into my computer.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
But, you know, just because we had a little bit of a cold start doesn't mean we're not going to have a epically hot, burning hot, just viciously awesome show.
That's like the coldest start I've ever had. I'm like, we're sitting there and we're just chilling. We're real pumped up. We're talking about the week that we had before and how busy it was. In fact,
kind of
2
not
weeks.
Getting ready to do the show because we figured we're ready.
It was so easy, and then all of a sudden, in fact, we were bragging it up, all the cool things that are happening right now with the station, and how the station, you're seeing it go through all of these pretty cool changes and the things that they're bringing in to make it a smoother production for everybody. And they're bringing it in. But here is the problem. As we're talking about it, I see Joe's face because my headphones aren't even plugged in. I can't even hear anything. I'm wondering what's up. But I look over and I see Joe's face, and he looks just bewildered, confused, like, what is happening? And he says, that's not our music. And I look over, and it's cut to the chase.
Which is another great show here.
Yeah,
but it is a couple days away. So, yes, we got cut to the chase, which is tomorrow instead of today. You guys have PaleoRadio, just to be very clear.
Yeah. We are not cut to the chase.
We are not cut to the chase.
Let's cut to the chase on that.
Yeah, they are great guys, but we are not them. They are not us. We are a different show with different leanings.
We're going to have to figure out this whole thing because, dude, in a matter of like 12 minutes, we're going to have their outros.
If that's the case, I'm just going to start it.
We're just going to roll with this,
I'm just going to start introducing myself as Jim Chase, who is just as a side note for interest, for purposes of interest, is actually from my hometown and is the man that got me access to start working at the radio station. So just a while we're doing it, mini shout out to James Chase of Everett, Michigan, old Teamster that you are. Thank you very much, man.
The Padawans come a long way.
Hey, I'd like to think so.
It's true, man. You're totally dope at this point. 100%.
Thank you.
100% pure.
Oh, yeah. Kowtow to that. Thank you.
Yes, but we haven't been on for 2 weeks, man.
Yeah, we've taken hiatus for America. That's what I'll say.
For America. We did actually take it a little bit for America, didn't we?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Notice we didn't say America. It was just hard M. It was American.
Hard M. And that's not entirely a jab. I'm a little America.
A little bit.
I am a little America.
I got a little America in me, too.
Yeah, look at my chops. My dad was a trucker. So the thing is, all this stuff that was going on, one of the things that made it honest to goodness impossible. Was the fact that it was the 1-year anniversary of our daughter's death, which actually, we already talked about that one, but then we had the 1-year anniversary of Angela's birthday.
Yes.
Since that happened.
One more revolution around the sun.
One more revolution around the sun. And so we had that other additional time around. And that happens to coincide with the day that we celebrated the life of our daughter with a funeral where people got to dress up. It was a emotionally conflicting day. The eulogy, which is available online, people can see the whole thing, in fact, the entire thing. Devastatingly sad. A lot of sadness in that. But yet people are dressed up like Vikings and fairies and princesses and bumblebees. I mean, everything. Circus masters. People were dressed up. There was a DJ there dancing. And I sang Happy Birthday to my wife.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And I got to dance with her. They played some music and allowed us to dance. And then other people came up and were dancing.
This was at Black Rock?
No. This was
at a party.
At the funeral.
Yeah.
I'm still describing the funeral.
Oh, yes.
That's why I'm saying emotionally conflicting.
That's right.
People,
yes.
The imagery of it, the iconography of the whole event was happy. Mm-hmm. And yet at the same time it was sad. And so this is a 1-year reflection on that. And it's her birthday. But here's the thing. Her birthday devoured last week. It was amazing. We had people in from Arizona. We had Kristen, her bestie, come into town, spent a couple days. Her mom from Battle Creek, she came with her brother and celebrated her birthday. Actually was there on her birthday. We went to, where did we go, sweetheart?
Mac Woods.
What's that?
Mac Woods.
Mac Woods. over at Silver Dunes. We were going on that dune ride that makes your stomach feel like it's coming out your your throat. Yeah, totally did that. So it was super packed, and then we went to Black Rock. But I'll mention more of that stuff kind of throughout the show, I guess.
Yeah. But it sounds like a very eventful time. I've been working all day, man. That's what I've been doing. But it's been good.
The old grindstone, making that loot.
Yes.
You are, dude. You're seriously big time moves. And in fact, can we say something, or should we still hold on?
We can talk about it.
Yeah.
We don't know how it's going to play out exactly. We're thinking we're going to get the same time spot here, but I have recently got a promotion at work at my other job that I do. I got a couple of them, but the other job that I do that is going to put me back on first shift, which means that we can't do the show live. But it does mean that if we do a recorded show, we are still going to go live, but we're going to go live via online through Spreaker. And that's our hope, is that if we go online, if we have to do a nighttime recording, we'll still be live there. You can listen to it then, and then they'll play the re-recording here at the 10 a.m. slot. So it actually is going to be a bump up for us. Maybe we can get more content out there.
And it's going to get us back in the creativity studio.
Yes. Put us back in the creativity studio.
That's another level.
Yes.
It's another level of different. Different stuff happens in that studio.
Yes, it does.
It does. Actually, and we used to have pretty cool videos, man. These little snippets, these little snapshot snippets. What would you call those?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't want to go there because I almost swore. Snap something.
But yes.
Yeah. But to where people could see behind the curtain, right, and see what the wizards are doing.
Yes.
And it was always tons of fun because it was posters and vaping, and it was pretty crazy.
And we do have a lot of posters down there. Some of those are probably going to have to go into the Paleo Vault because of the amount, the immensity of how many we have.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Paleo Vault, as we always do, we're going to have the question of the day. We're going to bring the question of the day in probably around 10:30, give you guys an hour and a half to answer it. And we have additions to the Paleo Vault, which are epic.
Yeah, we have additions. I didn't see this coming, Joe.
No.
I mean, not in a million years. I did not see this coming at all.
Existed.
I didn't either. You have these things where you just, you're walking around your day, everything's seeming a little mundane, a little predictable, and then bam, out of nowhere, struck by lightning, and you're given Anchorman cards.
Yes.
I mean, seriously.
Anchorman
cards from the movie Anchorman. I'm looking at Steve Graff right here. I got Champ Kind. Got, let's see here. Oh, Ron Burgundy.
Yes.
San Diego's #1 news anchor. And on the back, oh my gosh, let's see here. Flipping it over. These are exactly like baseball cards. I mean, so if you like that kind of feel and everything to a baseball or football card, it has his height on there, his favorite movies, Bonanza. His favorite food, a good chop. Favorite song, that one ditty about the ship.
That one ditty about the ship.
Favorite book, the Bible, or Peter Benchley's The Deep. Who is your hero? I don't. Okay. So anyway, Zodiac, whatever the one is with the weird guy with a bullhead. It also has a bio on there that I won't read, but it has all the different. He gave me this set of them, and my favorite, one of my favorite, is Ed Harkin.
Oh,
leader of the Team
Ed
4-pack.
Harkin is my favorite.
And my kids, we totally baptized them in the genius of Christopher Guest.
Yes.
And company with their mockumentaries.
Yeah.
They saw Waiting for Guffman. So they're familiar with this character, this
Best
man.
in Show.
And Best in Show.
Oh,
yeah.
man. That's Eugene Levy stuff. Oh.
They love it, man.
So good.
Corky's their favorite.
So good.
Corky is their...
Of course.
Corky's their favorite. And they saw a preview, a trailer for Mascots. Which Rotten Tomato or whatever, man, has that like a 50-something%. I don't know about that.
Well, hey, childish movies.
Yeah.
I'm a 30-year-old adolescent male, the way I look at it in terms of the movies I watch. I still like slapstick comedy movies like Chris Farley's Almost Heroes, stuff like that. So I'll go see Mascots and take a look at it and see what I think. Yeah, I'm down for it. Doesn't scare me.
Oh, and look at this. I believe now that it is officially changing. Yes, things are happening here in studio. It's almost like magic when you look over at the screen and you see bumper 1, PaleoRadio.
Well, we have the elves working inside of the
Genius
machines,
elves,
and they are putting it all together. And they're magical. We sent up a little wish and a prayer, and look at what happens.
With some smoke signals.
Power of faith here, guys.
Some smoke signals to the people in back over there in the old GQ.
Yes.
So like, oh my goodness. Bunch of fun. So yeah, in the next couple minutes, we're totally not going to have to pretend that we're another show.
Yeah, that's going to be nice.
That's going to be really great.
Yeah, speaking of not being another show and what makes us a little bit different, we usually bring in a different view of topics.
Oh, yeah.
And we do have quite a few topics. We can at least go through what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, we can talk about that we're going to be discussing Kid Rock.
Yes.
And a potential run.
Yes.
Yep, trying to be a senator, dude. Maybe against Stabenow.
And I wouldn't even say potential. I think he's going to do it. He's
going
to run. Yeah, he's going to run, and he most likely will win. We'll talk about if that's actually...
Do you think he'll beat Stabenow?
I think he could beat Debbie Stabenow.
Oh, it's close.
Yeah, I think that either way it will not be good for America, but I think he can do it. We can talk. We'll talk about it. The next one is from the Atlantic. Why it's a bad idea to tell students words are violence, and this is by Jonathan Haidt, who is an author that we both have read, that we both are fans of. You're a little bit more well-read with him than I am. I'm getting into his books a little bit more, but Jonathan Haidt is a very, very interesting man, very intelligent thinker, and is very good at laying out his arguments.
And he's taken on a piece in the New York Times that's talking about justifying the case against or the case for banning Milo from speaking at Berkeley.
Yes.
And saying that, and boiling it down to the idea that words themselves can be violence. And he talks about this and breaks it down and says, well, that might be true, but then what?
Yeah.
What then is the argument from there? And so we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about little brothers watching. FBI has used urgent warning about spy toys that put privacy and safety of children at risk. And this is going to be an interesting one.
Yes.
Some of these toys... Wowza, man.
But they wouldn't even call them toys. I mean, spy toys is actually, that's a toy for adults to watch their kids.
No.
So, I mean, that one just gives me icky feels. I don't know. We'll talk about that one too.
Yeah, and you got to watch out, man, because I don't know if the FBI told the kids to go and say, look, what's your suggestion? Have them go play on your cell phones.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
Because nobody's watching them buggers.
Have them play Candy Crush. It'll be great.
Yeah, it'll be perfectly fine.
Another article from the New Scientist is the ethics issue. Should we impose population controls? Now, I think this one's going to be a really good debate. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about there.
Yeah, and then how doctors used virtual reality to save the lives of conjoined twin sisters. And this just blows my mind, man, and this is what's coming. I mean, this is really where it's at this point, when you can throw doctors into a simulator that allows them to be particles inside of a human heart, and to get a 3D representation of that person's heart that they're going to do surgery on, and they can just go in there, walk and navigate the whole thing, make it bigger, make it smaller, zoom in, zoom out, and they're able to figure this out and say, well, what are the dangers? Where would we hit? What do we need to get? What shouldn't we be near? Is this possible? All of those different considerations now are just going through a revolution. They will go through major time shifts.
Yes.
Major time.
We're going to see some amazing things change in the medical fields here in the next few years. In the next decade, at least, it's going to be immense. Another one, this isn't funny, but it is an odd one. But R. Kelly is holding women against their will in a cult, parents have told police. This is another one, too, the R&B legend. He tours the country, but there have been people that are concerned that he's keeping their children on basically a stipend and they have to stay in the house.
Didn't you give this one to me?
All sorts of oddball jazz. Yeah, oh yeah. And The Guardian released this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was, woo.
Yeah. Angela sent this one to me, and it was just, when I saw it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is this is a little bit strange.
Yes.
And, I could imagine being, one of his bros, and you're sitting there talking to him, and he's like, yeah, man, I got these girls that I'm repping. You know what I mean? Like, I'm really helping them through, giving them some advice.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, a bunch of moms start talking, and dads start talking and saying, our daughter's gone.
Yes.
Where is she? Oh, she's isolated in a house? We're going to talk about that and a lot more on this Paleo Radio. We'll be right back.
Love Paleo Radio? Join the club. Support our work by visiting patreon.com/Paleo Radio today.
Back to Eagle and Dragon.
What an amazing day it is to be alive, my friends. If you'd like to join the conversation, it's super duper easy. All you got to do is dial 616-656-1680. Let's do that one more time, 616-656-1680. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, we already have someone on the line. But I wanted to say, Joe's a genius. So we're allowing people, the technical crew here at the station is working on-site and off of site while we're in here. But there's controls inside the station as well. And that's one of the things about live production. I mean, if you're on a live TV show and you've got a technical difficulty and something starts going through and you're an anchor on that, you got to just deal with it.
No, but the one good thing is this is the benefit too is although I know that the audio may be a little choppy out there for you folks, you have to understand that the people that are working in here are doing a lot, and the fact that we're running a live show while we're making these changes, pretty darn impressive. So thank you guys for doing what you're doing. I mean, honestly, we're bouncing all over in here.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do? I mean, really think about that for a second. I mean, what do you do in a situation where, for whatever reason, the wrong bumpers are put into a show, into a certain time spot, and you have to have people outside the studio, not in the room, but outside the room, taking care of this remotely. So you have some people in the building, but outside the studio. You have some people outside the building, and they're all coordinating and working together, trying to ensure that all these different things are punched in and made to work as they ought to be working. But the people inside the studio, the people inside there have to be of the professional quality and caliber to continue going, or to say, hey, look, I'm not going to keep talking over top of this. We're going to allow this to play out for a few minutes. You're going to have to enjoy the sounds of the bumpers for our station for a moment. Just kind of get a replay for that. But here's where it's even prettier with this show, is that because we've done stuff not only with radio and TV, but also with podcasting, people ain't going to get too many cold starts. Even though it's a cold start for radio, you put it into a podcast and, oh, man, it's smooth. You don't have to keep every single jot and tittle.
That's right.
That's not how it works.
It's the advantage of editing, right?
Well, and what would be the point? That'd be just totally ridiculous. So, point being, people who listen to AM, FM radio or listen live streaming, you get a different kind of experience sometimes.
Yeah.
You get a fancy one that requires your host to really be nimble and quick. I'm serious.
Yes.
Yeah, nimble navigators over here.
Speaking about being a nimble navigator, we have someone who's looking at a bid here in Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
Looking to dethrone Debbie Stabenow.
That's a big name for those who are unaware.
Yeah. And the name that's running against her is a pretty big one.
Yeah, huge name.
Yes, being Christopher Rock. Mr. Kid Rock. Oh, man. So, Kid Rock. This is from Politico. It says, Senator Kid Rock, don't laugh. Consensus formed at warp speed that Kid Rock's possible U.S. Senate bid couldn't be taken more seriously, or shouldn't be taken seriously, and that is a huge mistake. This is by Tim Alberta and Zach Stanton. But I really think that this is getting into something that we can have a conversation about it, and then we'll have a sub-conversation. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. But we'll get there when we get there. First thing, it says basically that as you're reading this, odds are a Democratic operative in Michigan or Washington, D.C. is listening to Kid Rock's gravelly voice rapping, shrieking or crowing, depending on the song, and meticulously cataloging, thank you, every single offensive syllable. The renegade musician and prospective candidate for U.S. Senate is an opposition researcher's dream come true.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Well, I think if anything has changed, and not even for the better, it's that political opposition research to people being awful is not as effective.
It's like it's more available. It's all there. If it's all there and it's on a record, I mean, how is that? And you got a bunch of people listening and singing along with you. How's that really oppo research in the first place? I mean,
yes,
he kind of wears it on his sleeve.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it says, for more than 2 decades, Robert Ritchie, or Bobby, as he likes to have people call him, has written and performed provocative records about, among other things, extravagant drug use, excessive drinking, sexual exploits with prostitutes, strippers, and Hollywood starlets.
There you go.
These lyrics are far from hollow. Kid Rock's hard-partying image is centered to his popularity and has been exhaustively documented in the media accounts over the years.
I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Provocative records about extravagant drug use. Right, this guy running for a senator, where he's just very open about it, not hiding that or saying like, "Yeah, I tried it one time." Or I smoked it, but I didn't inhale it, kind of thing. But extravagant drug use, excessive drinking. He's like, yeah, I drink hardcore. Like, I party real hard. Sexual exploits with prostitutes. So he's like, I'm hooking.
Yep.
I'm hooking real good with strippers because he's hardcore about that. Like, probably half his fan base, probably. And then Hollywood starlets.
Yes.
So he's been, this guy's been around. This in traditional political economy and campaign culture, this guy is an F. Like, you don't want him.
Yeah.
This is a traditional world of politics. Man, keep this dude really, really far away. Doesn't have a chance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in today's politics, he does. Mm-hmm. And the question is that better for anybody? I mean, legitimately, is it better for anybody that someone who is like Kid Rock now does have legitimate chance? And I mean, I'm casting aside the jokes on it because I'm pretty serious about the question of why I think we have a moral travesty going on in politics, and the idea of breaking that down for the sake of seeing it burn, I think is ignorant and confusing and kind of scary for me in the sense that there are people that if you are held to an integrity standpoint, something like a dirty secret will actually get you kicked out of politics. But if you're the lowest common denominator of a politician, you're actually impervious to to being the worst sort of person in your terms of your behavior. Mm-hmm. You can be a liar, a cheater, a absolute person who takes no responsibility whatsoever. You can swear. You can talk about exploiting women. I'm not talking about just Donald Trump. I'm saying
actors in general,
I'm
musicians in general.
No, I'm saying the landscape that Donald Trump has laid us that people think is now a better one than the one we had before. Or is it's a changed one, but is it a better one is my question. That this idea that
see how this
can
plays
win.
out. I mean, he might just get trounced.
I highly doubt that.
It's a possibility. I mean, Stabenow is a real player. Look, she's a big enough player that when I was asked to speak at the Postal Service at their rally in Lansing, she bumped me.
Yeah,
she's that big, bro.
Yes, but I think a man who's done things like drop his ticket prices to $20 so everyone can come to his shows is a person that can beat someone like Debbie Stabenow, no matter how ignorant he is, which he is very, very ignorant.
Is he a man of the people?
Yes. Absolutely, in every way, shape, or form.
Yeah, but he's lacking that aristocratic.
He doesn't even. He
doesn't have any of that.
He doesn't
really
need it. The reason why our president won wasn't because he was aristocratic or he was aloof. It was because he appealed. He was a billionaire who appealed as a everyman, and Kid Rock can do the same thing.
Where does Stabenow stand on issues like trade?
I'm not sure.
Like, I mean, she has to take the pretty traditional stance. She gets enough Democrats. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the same time, I guess I should know this offhand. Like, I mean, this is something I should probably be like, oh yeah, this is her voting record on this. But what's her position on free trade during the election? Because she was a big person out there for Hillary.
Yeah.
And so, like, what were her public statements when she was a surrogate that people in Michigan may have been paying attention to? I'd have to go back and look at that.
Look too.
But she's a long-standing politician with a huge network and massive amounts of credibility in the state. It would be really, really tough, I think, to topple her.
I don't think so at all.
You don't think so?
I think our presidential election has shown us that we don't get to pick and choose what's normal anymore in terms of how politics gets decided. And to assume that it's normal because she has a base and she has a record and she can be held to a certain account, I don't know if that's even valuable anymore in our voting populace, as ignorant as our voting populace is. I mean, I'm just being straight up honest about it. I don't think our populace is smart enough to not value him at equal level to someone like Debbie Stabenow. Period. I think that's true.
You've gone hardcore.
But
that's valid. It's totally valid. What has he ever done?
Nothing.
That should just be a very definitive statement. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no. I play devil's advocate. Any listener to this show knows that I'll play devil's advocate on a lot of issues. Because that's actually a definitive statement. I mean, I'm
making one about the intelligence of the American voter right now that says most people at face value will say that he is just as good or better than her right now with no information about him. I bet you most American voters in Michigan right now would do it. Hey, man, he played Summertime in Northern Michigan. That's a song about us. He's from Detroit. Hey, vote him in. And I think the power of politics with celebrity is actually a concern too, because I don't know how in the world we get millionaire everymen. I don't understand this. Kid Rock doesn't swill beer in his tank top in a trailer park, folks.
Yeah.
He does it in a gated community in Macomb, Michigan.
I'd like to be a multimillionaire everyman, though. I mean, I believe
Don't
it's possible. I don't believe that it's impossible, and I think that everyday people can make a lot of money. I think that they can still maintain certain values, a certain worldview, a life view, and their network, right? Their network of people that says, look, I really do want to still connect with these. I don't want to do the dinners that are $5,000. That's going to land you in a different sphere of people. If you're a celebrity, or you're a big-time name, a public figure of any kind, and you're more in the world of like $20,000 dinners and plates for events that you go to of that kind, you're going to be surrounded almost entirely by a certain class. Mm-hmm. And so in that sense, maybe opening it up to people who are a lot poorer, who are interested in his stuff but ordinarily wouldn't be able to enjoy the kind of environment. I can see that kind of personality resonating. I'm not saying that it's sufficient, but I'm saying that I can imagine a voter, and I'll play devil's advocate a little bit. I can imagine a voter saying, I'm going to go ahead and look at him through different value lens. I don't value the same things the same way. That person Stabenow may fit all the qualifications, but you know what? I just simply don't agree with her on X, Y, and Z, and I'm more with him.
Yeah.
I don't know how safe that is for America. We'll talk about it with this caller when we get back.
Now back to Joe and Jeremiah.
Welcome back to Paleo Radio, live in studio.
Yeah.
95.3 FM, 1680 AM. And as always, you guys can call in to join the conversation at 616-656-1680. And speaking of, it seems like we have a caller.
Yeah, before that, I got to say this or I'll forget.
Yeah, do it.
Stabenow, I went and said, this is something that I just instinctively knew. I mean, I've seen her at enough of these places, but end trade agreements to keep jobs here. She voted no on promoting free trade with Peru, no on implementing CAFTA. Okay, so yes on establishing free trade between U.S. and Singapore. So she's kind of a situational person looking at different trade agreements saying, what's the reason for this, what's the reason for that? But on this issue, she seems pretty traditional in her bona fides with democratic policies regarding trade.
Yes.
So she's not on the globalist wing of it, but she's kind of an in-betweener.
But that's not why she'll get beat by him. She'll get beat by him because Kid Rock wears tank tops and flies rebel flags and drinks Jack Daniels straight from the bottle. It's for real. That's why they'll like him more. I throw out the idea that people give a crap about politics. They think it's funny. To have someone with no experience run him because he's a well-named person because he's supposed to know what we want. But that is just like getting Kid Rock to run for senator is just like us walking down the street and picking the fifth person we see and saying, you don't have a political background, but I kind of like the cut of your jib. Why don't you run the offices for us? It is. It's like saying, hey, I need a plumber, but I could call a roofer and it would be the same.
Yeah, and at least Trump, in his defense, at least Trump has been involved in the game of politics. I mean, he even ran for...
I agree.
Well, considered a launch for a run many years ago.
Yes.
So it's unlike this.
Yes.
And yet this is kind of something this may be a result of Trumpism a little bit.
I think it totally is.
All right. Well, let's hear what Matt has to say. Matt's listening in Tennessee on streaming audio. What do you think about that, Matt?
Hey, Jeremiah, how's it going? I'm from Kentucky, but
goodness! I know who this is. All right, I got you.
We know who it is.
I got you, man. You're okay. This is Matt. This is Matt. This is my boy, Reverend Matt.
Around my hood, like basically, we had a couple cycles ago. We had Mitch McConnell, and they were talking about getting Ashley Judd to run against Mitch McConnell. And basically, at the time, Ashley had a little bit more of a wholesome image. I mean, she came out like about a year ago. She's like, I'm a nasty woman, all that kind of stuff. But basically, at the time, she had a wholesome image. really, I mean, like, I'm on the other side of the aisle, and I was thinking, sounds good, and then she just backs out right at the end. I think they had some guy named, I think it was, well, I don't want to get the wrong name, but basically they had an opponent right after that. I think it was Henderson or whatever, and basically, Mitch McConnell won. He had the incumbent thing going on, but I kind of see Kid Rock as kind of like maybe a little bit more liberal version of Ted Nugent. I mean, that's just what I'm kind of seeing there, but I think he transitioned over to country music. I think culturally, I think he could, be more attractive to a lot more people than maybe, let's say, he was about 15 years ago or whatever. So you never know with that, because even though, just like with, okay, well, he's sleeping with whoever or whatever, but basically he still has the independent thing going on. He could say, I'm outside of the system, and therefore, these people are kind of locked down into whatever they're going to say. I'm going to be the independent voice. I can move. Doesn't mean that he's going to be that. Doesn't mean that he's going to convince people, but I think he's got a good angle.
I think he does too. Yeah, I
that's
agree
why people
entirely.
relate. Yeah. That's why a lot of people can say, "Hey, man, I kind of relate to this guy."
Well, people love Mr. Smith Goes to Washington style politics, even though it does not work. It does not work. Give me the example of the time somebody that's uneducated, had no idea what he's doing, walked in and made everything right. In history, that said, I don't have a plan. I don't have experience in this, and I'm going to take over the reins of it all, and I will actually make it better. I've heard there's always been an argument for someone to do it. The outcomes have never been very positive.
I remember a little local election, like for Metro Council and stuff like that. It was really funny. There was this guy who has a beer and bake shop, and he just had a lot of friends. I mean, the guy had no positions on very much anything, but everybody loved to go to his beer and bake shop. So, they just put out, like, yard signs everywhere and stuff like that, and he was kind of up there, and then didn't quite make it, though, and, I saw him at another political meeting a little bit later, and he was like, yeah, I care about the issues, and the school playground. That's the only thing he could come up with, but, he did have, like, a little local charisma and stuff, and I think there is, like, you have to be able, you can get your name out that way, but you do have to have an actual message that people are going to lock in, though. I think that's the deal, sealing the deal.
Well,
Yes.
I'm really grateful that you called.
Yeah,
my
thank you,
man, my Rev friend, one of my favorite fundamentalist friends in the universe. And so, when I saw that, I said, Matt S. from Tennessee. And as soon as I heard your voice, I was like, wait a second. I'm like, he ain't from Tennessee. I know where this guy's. I know where this guy's from. I know where he's from. We still have to get together someday, man. We've debated. Man, how long ago, Joe, was that? This is when we were in Google Hangouts still.
Yeah, it was a while back.
Yeah,
Probably about 4 or 5 years.
Wow,
like it, yeah.
It has. It's been about 4 years, I think. Pretty close to it. And we had a fun debate and discussion on your show. Yeah. What are you doing, real quick? Just a plug for yourself, real quick, before we move on.
Basically, you go to my website, www.biblesmack.net. I got all my stuff there, and I'm doing a little bit of local radio right now with the rest of the news, Dr. Frank Simon. It's kind of a right-wing Christian group and stuff like that, but American Family Association.
It's right-wing Christian. It's not like a progressive liberal thing you're involved with, man.
How does that work?
Well, you do know that there is a lot of, like, circular kind of stuff. I mean, just like I mentioned, like, Mitch McConnell and stuff. I mean, like,
Sure.
My friend used to, like, totally go for him and everything, and then now we've kind of realized he's more like the devil, and so, I mean, there's a lot of New World Order stuff with Mitch McConnell. I mean, it's like, one minute he says, I'm against terrorism, and then you find out he's doing backdoor deals to keep the terrorism going and stuff. So, I mean, you end up kind of, finding yourself in a big loop.
Yes.
All right, my man.
Hey, thank
We're gonna
you,
let
Matt.
you. Yep.
Appreciate
All right,
the call.
Thank you for the phone call.
Cool.
That's hilarious. He may be was he the first or second caller that ever has just very nonchalantly included as a descriptive New World Order?
Yeah.
Like somebody.
Which
I
is
think I
great.
caught that at the end. I
Hey,
was like,
man.
did he just say? So,
You never know.
All right, 616-656-1680 if you would like to be part of the conversation. We've been having a whole bunch of fun here. We started off kind of having a rough,
a little bit of a bumpy road.
A little bit of a bumpy road with stuff. You're talking, Joe. It's funny, man, about people with no real political skill or education coming in, and that's a great question. When has that person ever rolled up? It's kind of like the question about when have the scientists ever ascended the mountain and they get to the top and the guru is up there saying, "I was waiting
for you," yes.
kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
When does that happen? Because it is the same philosophy.
Yes.
It's the same notion that the political scientists, these naturally aristocratic individuals that make their way up this chain and they study how economics works and how politics works and what culture is and what history is, and they make an effort. And they make an effort to talk to the different groups out there, interest groups, tons of them. And they try, they do their best, and they have to play a game. There's so much theater involved in that, right? And they got to do it. And the idea is that those people doing all that stuff get to the top, and there's some guy named Kid Rock. And
he's up there with his Jack Daniels.
With his Jack Daniels and his prostitute.
I told you all along I knew how to do this.
And but that's on questions of like, are they going to move us forward? Are they going to know? And for me, maybe it's a situation of scale. If he was running for a town, some smaller level thing, I'd be like, dude, go for it, bro.
Me too.
But when people just do that leapfrog, and they go boing all the way over education and everything, all the way to I'm running for senator. I'm like, okay, we got to talk a little.
That's exactly how I feel. Like, you're right. And I totally am okay with the diversity of political opinion where you have hard right conservative people that are mayors of towns that are mostly rural, that are hard right in the way that they govern, the way they want to be governed, or there's smaller towns that are rural that want to be more liberal with things, and they all invest in, like ours did, a Play All Day, which was a kids community play center by the school and stuff. There's differences of how to do things, but just like you said, totally okay with that person starting up the ranks. When someone says you have no experience to be city comptroller of the city of 200. Okay, then yes, I think we can tip our scales with the comptroller experience and let that person take a whack at it. But when it's going to be the comptroller of the city of Grand Rapids with no experience, that's when at least you hope people put their feet on the brake. But where I'm most concerned, my biggest concern lies in marketing and branding, where politics, people have always talked about lightly marketing and branding of it, but we've known there's always been a fusion of the two, that people use marketing and branding to sell themselves politically and get what they want to out of the political system. But what I question, too, is the question we should ask ourselves is we look at politicians and we say, oh, lowly, dirty politicians, these hoity-toity, the bourgeois career politicians making these decisions and these bright thinkers and all that, and we'll speak that way of them. While we do that, we don't really think about the fact that the opposite, or what we're falling into right now, seems to be marketing style and branding. And the question is, are people who are good marketers and branders good politicians? In effect, not in getting elected, but in effect of what they do. They're good at getting elected. It's kind of the same as someone who can interview very, very well, but you have no idea if they're actually a good worker. They seem like a good worker.
Yeah, because they interview well.
But they interview well.
Then that's why people look for substance. People go, well, what's your platform? Did you write it? How consistent is it? How coherent are you? Does it reflect in anything you've ever written or said in the past?
Yes.
Like, if somebody just jumps in that game, then your people will have a very high amount. Like,
but if
you have to overcome that.
But not if someone pitches to you the idea that you don't have to take ownership over the controversy between what you say. Just say, don't ever say you're sorry. Never admit you're sorry. And never say you changed your mind. Just stick with whatever you said last. And we have found, and this is the scariest thing about what I think Donald Trump's presidency is going to be, is that political analysts will start pitching that to their constituent, or to the people running, and say, our studies of this have shown that the best thing to do is not take ownership over scandal in some cases, to just roll over it. and never admit
That's
it.
probably been advice for a long time.
But I think in this time, it's to
Is it open?
you walk up to the press conference and say, not only am I not wrong, but you guys are wrong for even asking the question. 616-656-1680 to call in, folks. We'll be back with more Paleo Radio.
For debates, interviews, or speeches, contact PaleoRadio at gmail.com.
You love to hate 'em, you hate to love 'em. You just can't get enough of 'em, you sick freaks. Paleo Radio's on the air.
Welcome back to Paleo Radio. We have a bunch of great topics for you. Man, we just loaded up, aren't we?
Yeah, we totally loaded up, man. But I got to say this.
Bring it up.
Before we move on, because we got to figure out a question of the day, too.
Oh, yeah.
We got to get that out there.
Oh, yeah.
For all the peeps.
Yes.
Yeah, because you know what? And I feel really badly about this. This is a real thing. I gotta make an apology. We had some pictures. In fact, last week we had an awesome show. We had Chris Watson on.
Yes.
Interviewed him over a topic involving a debate between two other people.
Yes.
David Smalley and what was it, Thomas Smith. Thomas Smith. There we go.
Of,
I
Serious Inquiries Only.
apologize for the brain fart, bro.
Yep.
Yes, Thomas Smith. And we didn't get that podcast out yet because we had, as we said earlier in the show, all week long my house was filled with people. And it was my wife's birthday. It was the year of our daughter's passing and her funeral. And we went to Black Rock. And I had a ton of fun at Black Rock, but I just wanted to say this about Black Rock, man, is that it's always fun. It always does something cool, and I always end up meeting interesting people. I'm really bummed, of course, that Mad Viking Beard Club wasn't there because I was going to buy some stash wax, or not some stash. I was going to buy different stuff from my stash and my chops. But I saw someone I did not expect to see, man. I saw someone I haven't seen in like 20 years, an old friend of mine named Caleb. And you're talking about the show, said he listened to the program, whole bunch of fun. But I didn't know. I didn't know to what extent he actually listened to the show. But he was describing which show was the last one he heard and wondered why we were gone for a little bit. And it was just really cool.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. I had a great time with him, to touch base with him after all these years, to meet his family. And that was just, his daughter, of course, looks like him. Anyone who knows my friend Caleb would know that's probably a predictable thing. All of the kids in that family all look like, you can tell. It's like one of those families where you say, oh, yeah, that's definitely a kid from that family over there. You all know. And so, but it was awesome. Got to meet his wife, got to talk to him, have a couple drinks. And, dude, it was a lot of fun at Black Rock, not just for the trappings that I'm accustomed to. And even in spite of people not being there that I was really, really hoping to be there. Okay. Even the Historical Society for the Norsemen, for the Vikings, they didn't have their area there either. It broke my heart on that. But it was awesome. And my kids loved it. My son, Athen, actually said that it was like a birthday, but in summer, because there were so many things all at one time that were going on. He said, we're going to Uncle Derek's house. We got Black Rock, and we've got Sully, his best friend, got to go with us.
Yep.
And so it was an awesome time. It was super duper bittersweet. But I wanted to give that shout out there to Black Rock as well as to my friend Caleb.
Yeah.
Listening to the show.
Yeah, that is great. And in terms of posting old episodes, too, we have to say that what we're going to be doing is hopefully in the next day or two, we'll be posting our episode from a couple weeks ago. And then on Wednesday, when Jeremiah and I normally link up to show prep again, we will post the most recent one. So we're going to be looking forward to this. You guys should be, too, of 2 episodes of Paleo Radio going on online here in the next week. So that'll be a lot more content for you folks, and for our Patreon listeners and supporters, we thank you, and we will be charging.
And I want to give a shout out, and I am so sorry. I mean this, man. I mean, I'm letting it all out, telling people what's going on and why I've been having a hard time getting things done in a timely fashion. But Gleb, man. Old Spersky.
Yeah.
Gleb Spersky. He's been on my case valiantly to sign that truth pledge.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've already signed it.
I know. He told me that. He said Joe signed it. And so, I want to put something real good together because I have a few asterisks.
Oh, yeah,
I have
course.
a couple things that they're hopes, I guess. Hopes and wishes. I'm throwing pennies into
To the fountain.
Little fountain there.
There you go.
So, but just to give it a shout out there and say, look, Gleb, it's just one of those weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those months. It's not even a week. It was like a month for me. That's pretty crazy. But man, a lot of great things. And we're going to be getting those podcasts out.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
We'll be pumping them out.
Yeah, and you'll be paying for them.
Yeah.
It'll
yeah,
be
you will.
delicious money making fun.
Yes. Just to be clear, too, though, on Spreaker, if you guys go to Spreaker.com/PaleoRadio, you can listen and stream live all of our old shows, and those will always be free. But what we ask is if you do like the show and you want to support the show, you can do it by going to Patreon.com and donating over $1. If you donate over $1, we give you access to special media that Jeremiah and I do. We may even do a couple extra segments a week that are only available to people that are paying into Patreon.
Yeah, because there's a super special secret, but dude, you have a Tascam.
I do.
Yeah.
I do have Tascam.
An evolution has taken place behind the scenes.
Yes.
And now it allows for radio quality dopeness to be done.
Yes,
without
and-
being in the studio.
And we're going to be able to do that at our homes.
Yes.
Which is going to be able to give people more access. And we're thinking about asking people on our Twitter what topics they would be interested in us covering in our special segments. And then, again, if you would be able to donate and as low as what it would cost for a cup of coffee, about $1, we would be able to give you access to these special content.
Because
So
we
think
love
about that.
doing this. We love doing this, but we're trying to figure out ways to just get more intimate with you.
Yeah, that's right. We want to
are.
cuddle up by a fire. Lay on the PETA-friendly bearskin rug, as you like to
Yeah,
call it.
those are for the special Patreon providers.
That's right.
Like we have special gifts for that, for the
Yes.
prize vault, maybe. I have to put them in a special
Yeah.
drawing, dude, for like an hour-long cuddle for the locals. You know, that you just say, look, for
Cuddle
just,
sesh.
a good cuddle sesh. You know, just we can listen to a little Paleo Radio and we'll all just kind of cuddle by a fire. On
The only rule is
bearskin.
no red wine on the rug.
No.
That's it. That's the only rule there is. No. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Speaking of rules and maybe warnings and things to watch out for, dude, what's up with this whole little brothers watching thing?
Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
the FBI, or the FBI, they issued a warning to parents that are spying on their kids by using spy toys. This is from The Sun, UK little rag there. It says, little brother is watching. FBI issues urgent warning about spy toys that could put privacy and safety of children at risk. This is by Jasper Hamill. Creepy playthings can record kids' conversations, track their movements, reveal their location, and even allow perverts to talk to them directly. Now that is some creepy stuff.
Yeah.
So it says the FBI has issued urgent notice concerning toys that are packed full of sensors, cameras, and microphones to record a child's words and GPS locators to track their whereabouts, which obviously says this is a quoted statement here. Smart toys and entertainment devices for children are increasingly incorporating technologies that learn and tailor their behaviors based on the user's interactions.
I mean, think about that, man. Smart toys and entertainment devices. They sound so cool.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh, dude, look at this dope thing this dog can do for me. I used to just have to just kind of make it do it manually with my hands.
Yeah.
And now I just push this button. I might not even have to do that. I can just go to my app and bleep, bloop, blop and look at what this thing does. Yeah, the only problem is it does tailor to behaviors based on a user's interaction, kind of like Google.
Yeah, it does.
It kind of does that.
And it's got sensors to record and watch in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
The FBI statement also says these features could put the privacy and safety of children at risk due to large amounts of personal information that may be unwittingly disclosed.
Yeah, including microphones that can record and collect conversations within earshot of the device, gathering information such as a child's name, school, activities, and likes and dislikes. And those are in quotation marks, likes and dislikes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, just imagine, again, when we were talking about marketing and how good our marketing and people that are writing up these analogs, think about how valuable the information would be to them of knowing how a kid plays with toys in their bedroom. That would be information they'd like to know when they make toys for them, which would be, in a way, an argument to say, and I know this is building upon things, but in a way it would be to say that there could be a very much desired market for people that are looking for information on children playing with toys and toy companies to know how children play with toys in their room and be able to use that information and sell it to get an advantage over over the toys in the room exactly. So point being that you may have an actual market of people that are not only looking to do this, but are probably could be doing it on purpose.
Yeah, and some of it, they say, requires kids to file a picture when starting a user account. That's true even on, like, what is it, NBA Mobile?
Yeah.
Or NBA Live?
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of those where you have to upload a picture. In order to do that, have a date of birth, sometimes an address. It could be used in identity fraud.
Oh, of course.
And it's the kids. It's the kids. They're like, oh, yeah, that was my son, Athen. He was talking to me a couple days ago. He's on the phone with his friend, and he came running over, and he put his hand over the phone, and he goes, hey, Papa, when am I going to get my own phone? And I'm just like, probably never.
Probably never, bro.
When you're big enough and you're like maybe on your own or something.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, dude, no, this is cuckoo town.
It
and look,
is.
if people I'd love to hear, because I'm kind of, this is a fresh template for me. And so if anyone's got suggestions or ideas or data on when's best to allow kids to have their own independent cell phones going any which way with those things and how that works, you're welcome to give us a call, 616-656.
Can I offer my opinion?
Yeah, man.
18.
18. See, I'm kind of in that boat too.
When you're an adult.
I mean it.
When you're an adult, you can have your phone.
Or give them a phone where it's like that real strict phone that doesn't allow
Like the Ladybug phones?
Yeah, the only time you can use that is an emergency, and you've only got like 10 minutes of.
I would be okay with giving my kid a flip phone from 15 to 18 for real, and say, look, you want a phone that you want to flip open and be able to call your friends? Fine. You want a phone where you can sit on Instagram all day long? Be 18.
Yeah, they're going to look like Captain Kirk, dude, with their little flip phone.
Well, and here's the other thing, though. That's fine. I know.
No, I'm with
we
you.
know it, right?
Yeah,
we know what's on social media, right? In a way that
Yeah.
you can't control. And just like parents should be moderately controlling screen time and computer time, they should be doing the same thing with phones and flip phones. And it's not the responsibility of the technology to do it for you. It's your responsibility as a parent that you brought a child into the world, and you have to dictate how that works. I believe. I mean, the technology can help us, but if you know what people are going to be able to see on Instagram, then we got to think about who can see it and how old they are when they see it.
Go check us out right now on Facebook. We're verified. Totally awesome. It's at facebook.com/PaleoRadio. If you don't see the check mark, you're not there.
That's right.
Make sure to check in.
Yeah.
Something you can do.
And we promise not to spy on your children if you do
Right.
it. That's right. Stick around, folks, for another whole hour of Paleo Radio. We're going to be back. We're going to be talking about whistleblowers and bees. We're going to be talking possibly about Poland, ethical issues, and why words and violence don't really mix.
And question of the day. We'll be back.
Question of the day.
We'll be back right after this.
You are now entering Paleo Radio.
Welcome to Paleo Radio with your hosts Jeremiah Bannister and Joe Elder.
It is a beautiful Monday morning here in studio in Grand Rapids. Thank you much for listening. Again, this is the top of the hour for the second hour of Paleo Radio. I am Joe Elder in studio with
Jeremiah Bannister.
And if you want to join the conversation, again, 616-656-1680 to join.
Yeah, and Angela's here, of course. She's in studio with us.
Running the
making
board.
Making sure the stuff's running as smoothly as we can. We have had quite an eventful day, actually.
And for the record, let us just say that Angela was not in any way involved in the mess of the show getting started, but she was very intricately involved in the solution of the show. So thank you for being here, Angela. We appreciate that.
We love having her on board here.
Yes.
But the question of the day, Joe.
Yes, question of the day.
Man. Yes.
Are you ready, folks? Okay, question of the day is, what company is the world's biggest distributor of toys? And you can call in. There is a little bit of play in this one, but just call in and what do you think it is? No Google machine. Don't cheat. We go on the honor system here. We hope that you will follow the rules. But again, what company is the world's biggest distributor of toys? So hands out the most toys. Again, 616-656-1680 if you want to answer that for us. And you can get access to the illustrious and amazing prize vault.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I actually saw this. I forget how I stumbled on this little factoid, but I totally found it. And I learned it. And at first glance, because you asked me during the break, you asked me that exact same question, and I gave a wrong answer. But as soon as you gave the answer, it reminded me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I knew that actually. And it kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
It really, really, really blew my mind. I was taken aback by it. And yet at the same time, could you say that it's like on the one hand it's surprising and yet on the other hand it's kind of not?
Yes. I would say on one hand it's surprising, on another it's not at all.
Yeah.
Yep, that would be a good way of explaining it.
I think it's a fantastic way.
Yes.
But dude, hey, we were talking about that whole little brother is watching you, and I rather than just moving on so
let's
quickly,
stick to
we have to say some of these toys. I mean, these toys, it's worth it, man. It's worth the mention. Have you ever heard of My Friend Kayla?
I have not.
I had no idea about My Friend Kayla, but My Friend Kayla allegedly recorded kids' conversations. Okay, this was last year. Okay, spy toys are now on sale across the world, and last year's parents were warned about a doll called My Friend Kayla, which allegedly recorded kids' conversations. Parents were also concerned about a toy from Mattel called Aristotle, which records words spoken by children and sends them back to the developers. Yeah, man. Wow, bro.
That's no
parents
good.
were concerned, man. That would freak me out.
Yeah.
It does freak me out. Mattel, dude, what are they doing? And think, Mattel would have to have what? Some kind of department that gathers the information.
Well,
and translators of it. What are they doing it for?
Well, and going back to what I said, I mean, for real, I am seriously. You can say I'm throwing it on a tinfoil hat, but is it really much of a conspiracy to assume with that information that what I said earlier in the segment might be true? That they actually have a market for wanting to know what's going on inside the bedroom because that can help their sales.
They pay for it.
And they pay for it.
They pay big money.
Yes, and they sell it too.
Yeah, they pay big money. And that's right. And they can sell that information. That
Yes,
information
they
is
own
worth
it.
a lot.
They own that information. When you sign the agreement, you're saying not only can they look through it, but they can disperse it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, or dispense it, I'm sorry, but it's something to think about. It is extremely scary. The other one is, and this is just a side note, but if your device can connect through a router to any type of ISP, it can be hacked.
Yes.
Baby monitors. I know this is scary. I'm not trying to creep everyone out, but this is true. Baby monitors can be hacked. Baby monitors that don't typically connect to the internet, that people think don't connect to the internet, can be hacked if it connects to your smartphone. If you use your smartphone as a baby monitor in any way, shape, or form, or it's part of your baby monitor, that can be hacked and someone can listen to that. If it has access to an ISP. And the scariest thing is, because it's such rudimentary systems, there's not really a lot of ways to know if someone is doing it. And
you get called a weirdo if you bring it up. You get called a conspiracy kook. That's why we had to premise and say, look, I mean, putting on tinfoil hats a little bit, but at the same time, this is totally technologically, factually true.
And yeah,
I mean, it's not like you're not invoking some weird gap and saying some mystical process is happening. Oh, no,
and people who have read anything about WikiLeaks with Edward Snowden and the recent CIA dumps in terms of what they can do with access should know that this isn't even tinfoil hat. This is confirmed knowledge that we just know about the access that at least our government systems can get into. And then that there's secondary systems of loner people that are doing their own thing. And in some cases, those people, if they're good enough, can access it.
And the thing is, man, some of these companies like Facebook, it's like an insatiable lust for this information that even now Zuckerberg, he can't suffice and be satisfied with getting this information online. He's now having dinners and getting that information face to face and with really stupid optics. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh yeah,
that's tongue in cheek, obviously, but I mean, give me a break. It's hilarious. Yeah. I don't know, as a little side.
Well, I think he's. Yeah. I think. Not to get back into what we were talking about, but I think he's looking at it the same way where this is what I'm talking about, where there's really odd landscapes that you set forward when you have a billionaire everyman. And Mark Zuckerberg is a liberal billionaire everyman.
Who's just wanting recently to get more involved in politics. That's also confirmed in
That's
WikiLeaks.
what I'm saying is we're starting to see this unfold in ways that I think are terrible.
Yeah, so hackers, this is actually part of the article. Hackers could also crack into some gizmos and then talk to kids or spy on them without their parents' knowledge.
Yeah, how creepy is that?
This is the FBI. The FBI had the following advice. Quote, Consumers should examine toy company user agreement disclosures and privacy practices. Hold on. Let's repeat this again, folks. This is like super duper important, and yet all of us, probably even today, will see an agreement and go, okay, click. Here we go. Consumers should examine toy company user agreement disclosures and privacy practices, and should know where the family's personal data is sent and stored, including if it's sent to third-party services.
Yeah, there
gosh,
it is,
man.
And
that's very good advice, actually.
That's them saying, well, take the tinfoil hat off and throw it in the garbage now, because that's the FBI saying you have to make sure that they don't save your data, store your data, or send it to third-party storage areas or third-party services, as in sell it. As in sell your data. So, yes, it says security safeguards for these toys can be overlooked in the rush to market them and to make them easy to use. Consumers should perform online research of these products for any known issues that have been identified by security researchers or in consumer reports. Yeah, so, yeah, that's crazy. It says there's currently a huge trend for fitting internet-connected gadgets with cameras and sensors.
Yeah, the first one, I don't know.
Well, we'll skip the first one.
Yeah, I don't know if we should talk about the Spybrader.
No, we don't.
Yeah,
I don't think we
won't
to.
even touch that.
No.
But tech security experts later claimed it's possible to hack into that toy and to peer through a camera fitted inside it.
So that's very, yeah.
We'll just leave it at that.
Actually, no, I think it's worth saying it. I mean, we're not going to be too vulgar here, but there was a sex toy that somebody has that has a camera on it and everything like that. And the tech security experts later said that they could easily hack into that, which is a terrifying thing for someone to think about. Another one is shocked grandparents recently claimed an educational alphabet toy that they bought for their 18-month-old granddaughter shouted out the F word to them.
I've seen videos where dolls have been saying naughty words. I've seen those out of the package.
And this is old stuff. This is back way, way back when. You'll probably laugh at even the reference, but Furbies. You remember Furbies?
Dude, I remember Furbies,
You remember
bro.
when everyone was worried about Furbies and everyone kind of laughed about that? They laughed it off about the recording and were like, what do you mean that it's going to record? Like, why would someone even let it do that? And turns out that, yes, that's exactly what Furbies did, is record and store what they heard and do it in playback loops. And now we have it even... It's more rampant. It's more expansive. And I know a lot of people in the privacy argument will say things like, well, I've had nothing to hide. That's true. You don't. But why does someone have to have the right to spy in your kid's bedroom? Like, why do I have to say that that's wrong? From where we have the starting point to that argument, is it the starting point of that argument is I have to justify why I'm upset that people could peer into my house when I don't want them to?
Well, you'll hear the clamoring call of people who say, well, if you have nothing to hide, it shouldn't worry you.
That's right. And to those people, I ask them to publicly post the porn that they watch.
Yeah, and I would also say, look, I mean, I just don't like peepholes in my wall. I don't like the people peeping. That's actually what kind of gets me. It's not what I'm doing inside my house. It's the fact I got a peeping Tom. I mean, like peeping Tom, the whole concept is kind of lost on a lot of these folks.
There's also a psychological stress factor. There's a serious psychological stress factor to knowing you're being recorded all the time, even if you're doing the right things. This is also why do people, when they drive down the road and they get pulled over, have that feeling? Everyone gets the feeling, the nervousness, right? Even if you know that you didn't really do anything wrong, you get that feeling. And it has to do with the time and the circumstance. And I think that with recording, it's the same issues, that people behave differently when being recorded and monitored all the time. And more importantly is you don't know when you are or you're not, which is creepy. It's like having a peeping...
It's the panopticon, man.
It's a peeping Tom, like you say. It's you don't know when they're looking through the windows,
and
right?
Like
I
hate
that.
It shouldn't bother you that I'm peeking through the window looking at you. And I say, no, you actually are bothering me.
Yeah,
like you are doing
you
are the weirdo that's kind of bothering my thing going on here. And I just don't like the guy. I mean, if I walked outside my house and somebody was peeping through the window and their answer was simply, if you ain't doing nothing wrong, you shouldn't worry about me looking in there. I'd say, dude, you're just a weirdo. Or get out of my space.
They might take it even further and say, if you're worried about me looking through your windows, you shouldn't have windows in your house. I mean, for real. This is how ignorant the software and hardware version of spying on people is. That concept is absolutely ridiculous. That, you catch a man standing on a milk crate looking through your window, and he hops down and starts with, well, number one, you shouldn't be offended that I look through your windows anyway because this is a public space. And then number two is really, technically, you shouldn't even have a window if you don't want me to look through it. And I mean, that is just, it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. Like, there's a line where you swing your arm and it doesn't touch someone's nose, and that's when you know you're at your limits, right? It's the same concept that looking into people's private life without their consent or permission is wrong to do every time.
I'm just kind of in that same place that, when you were talking earlier about your pessimism regarding the intelligence of the average voter.
Yes.
I think I'm in that same place regarding the average consumer examining company user agreement disclosures and privacy practices.
Full on agree.
100%. I mean, I take this stuff seriously, and I still don't take this stuff seriously. I still push the buttons
Me
quickly.
too, yeah.
Oh, I say Google. What are they going to do? Blarp. And you just, I'm not taking all the time to look through it. I make excuses. Say, well, it's legalese. Well, I mean, look, exactly.
That's
That's exactly,
point, right?
man.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's just a legal paper. I don't know if I really need to look at it. I'm just going to sign it.
Yes.
Give me a break, man.
Yeah, little scary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, watch what we're doing, folks. Watch what's going on online.
Yeah.
There's no time to be lax about it. It's still just as big of an issue.
Radio? Join the club. Support our work by visiting patreon.com/PaleoRadio today.
Back to Eagle and Dragon.
I'll tell you, at the end of that last break, had a little oopsie doopsie.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, turn off that mic. Here's the thing. We're just talking about Angela and how she's not behind the mistakes that happen here. And once again, she's not behind the mistake that happened here. That was totally me. I pushed that button. I was like, yeah, this is dope, man. We hit this ending, blam, pushed it. And I'm like, what am I doing?
That's okay.
He's still talking. And so I'm trying to push it again, and I wasn't thinking. I'm pushing the yellow buttons over and over and over. You got to push the red button, bro. It's like one of those situations where you got to do it.
Yes.
You
that's
actually
okay.
need to push the red button. But look, really, really grateful for all of you listening. If you'd like to join the show, 616-656-1680. We're going to go to a caller, Jim, in just 1 minute. He's calling from Comstock Park. But we wanted to say once again, the question of the day.
Yes.
Okay? The world's largest distributor of toys.
Yep. What company is it?
What company? What company is the largest distributor of toys? And we're going to have to go ahead and post this and share this on Paleo Radio and see what we can get with that on Facebook, facebook.com/Paleo Radio. We're verified. Make sure to check for the check mark. Let's go right now to Jim. He's calling from Comstock Park, and he's listening on the phone app. How are you, man?
Good.
Good.
I wanted to relay a story. You guys were kind of talking about it in a little bit of a different context. But I was coming home last Saturday night from our monthly card game I play with my boys that we've done for years and years and years. But it was 2:10 a.m., and I get pulled over by the Kent County Sheriff's Department officer. And he pulls me over, and he says, do you know why I'm pulling you over? And I said, no, I'm not speeding. I knew I wasn't speeding, but he said I was weaving in my lane. Okay?
Yeah.
Never heard that before, but I'm weaving in my lane. Okay. Pulls me over. I got my seatbelt on. Everything's good. And I'm like, okay, do you smell weed on me or something?
Yeah. Right.
No. Do you smell alcohol in my breath? No. I haven't been drinking at all. But he pulled me over because I'm weaving in my lane on 28th Street in Grand Rapids, right?
Yeah.
And what time is this?
2:10 a.m.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you didn't pull me over because I was weaving in my lane. You pulled me over because it was 2:10 a.m.
Yes.
And I said that to him. He doesn't do a sobriety test or anything. He just lets me on my way. I'm like, what did he pull me over for in reality? Because it was 2:10 a.m., right? I complied, gave him my license, registration, and went on my way. But
Right. At
Sure.
2:10 a.m. I mean, I can see that happening.
And by the way, I did a little research. This particular officer is the guy who pulls, who has the most drunk driving arrests of anybody in that department. So, and I'm thinking, he must be pulling everybody over at 2:10 a.m.
Yeah, he probably, is you have to know too is commonplace. I mean, I grew up in a very tiny town, and it was the same story for me, right? Where that same exact happened, where if you drove through town at 2 a.m, you got pulled over.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm a night owl anyway. These guys are a night owl. It's poker night. We all have wives and jobs and young kids, and it's the one night to go, let loose.
Yeah.
If you will. And let loose for me is not being drunk.
Well, thank you for the phone call. We appreciate the call. I'm sorry we can't talk about that any further. But I'll say this. First of all, I don't really know what this is about. I really don't. I don't know how it ties in with what we were talking about. I'm glad we didn't out anybody specifically for these things. If people are driving, look, I'll put it this way. If I was a police officer and it was 2:00 in the morning and somebody was driving and they were weaving in their lane, and I know what that means. There's how many feet on both sides of an average size vehicle?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
On both sides, from the painted stripe on the right and the painted stripe on the left, and so you have feet on both sides. It's not like you're bumping real close next to people driving. So you have space. If you're floating in that space back and forth and you're weaving, but you're staying in your lane, I could see somebody at 2:00 in the morning getting pulled over for that. But if they do a breathalyzer, if they do other things and they pass it, they go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just leave it at that.
And I think if they are weaving now, I do understand a bit of his point in terms of that they said that they've done tests where police officers can pull over any person within 20 seconds based on something that they want to pull them over for. You know what I mean? Whether it's a light on the back of their license plate or something hanging from their rearview mirror or weaving in the lanes, number one. But I would have to think that they probably are doing some profiling, which is wrong. But at the same time, this is the other thing too, and I could be wrong. And some people would say this doesn't work out, but with the man having that many arrests for drunk driving, obviously there's something going on around there with people driving drunk, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he does find people that are intoxicated.
Yeah, and if we're playing into the whole conversation we were having on privacy and stuff and everything like that, I mean, at least that's a different thing than a third party going out and getting private information on you. I mean, that information's already available to police, I guess. Unless they went in and they got fingerprints and other things, that'd be a little bit more intrusive. Whereas third-party groups or people like Facebook, if they got your information, you don't even know what that's about. What jurisdiction do they have on anything? To have your information beyond the agreement that you mindlessly just push yes to every time. Yeah. So you can keep getting that dopamine.
Exactly right.
Me needs it. Get your little yes. Legal document. Get out of my way.
Yes.
Yeah, that happens all the time. Transitioning here, powerful segue to this. How doctors used virtual reality to save the lives of conjoined twin sisters.
Yeah, that is amazing.
That's unbelievable. This to me, we mentioned this at the beginning, this to me is just so mind-blowing, just the concept. Being able to go into a virtual reality chamber and to have a 3D image of whatever it is the surgeon's going to be doing surgery on. And that it would be a 3D image from the person they're doing surgery on. It's not like a generic kidney that they're looking at. They're actually 3D imaging that person's heart, that person's stomach, whatever it may be, that person's brain. And saying, well, let's go in here and we're going to navigate as if we are small particles that are traveling, kind of like those cartoons, where you shrink ray people down.
Yeah.
And they go inside the body. I think there was a Futurama episode like that, where they shrunk the person down and they went through all the different parts of the body and the brain. I think they did it in SpongeBob, too. Maybe.
Oh, they used to do it in the Magic School Bus all the time.
Yeah, so they're always doing that. But this is actually putting that in real life, kind of.
Yeah, it is.
And it's saying, look, you can't do that for real. I mean, we don't have our shrink ray beam. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is not real. Believe it or not. And I'm sorry I broke a lot of kids' hearts just now.
Yeah.
But it's not, okay, currently. But you can do something like it in a thing called virtual reality.
You can.
Yes.
And the other thing you can do is if you can get a 3D printing of the heart, you can physically print it. We could print the conjoined twins in a way, possibly in the future, where someone could do a practice surgery.
That's what that was. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, not in virtual reality, but on a physical being, on a physical 3D printed object. So if someone needs to replace a stent in the heart surgeons could be practicing on 3D printed hearts with different defects in them that are actually hearts that never came from a person. I mean, that's another angle to this. This is opposite the virtual reality world, but I mean, it's just to say that there's so much coming through in medical breakthroughs that it's just mind-blowing. This one here is out of the Washington Post. How Doctors Use Virtual Reality to Save the Lives of Conjoined Twin Sisters by Peter Hawley. And yeah, it is really interesting stuff. It says, during an 18-year career in medicine, Daniel Saltzman, the chief of pediatric surgery at the University of Minnesota Masonic Children's Hospital, has grown accustomed to looking at X-rays as if they were imperfect roadmaps of the human body. He compares this exercise to looking at one-dimensional traffic maps on your smartphone and thinking about the image in a three-dimensional term in your mind. Like any other roadmap, an X-ray image is an incomplete reduction of the reality that can misrepresent challenges or include distortions, which explains why, even in 2017, high-stakes surgeries can involve a shocking degree of guesswork and improvisation. That's why medicine is still an art much more as it is a science, Saltzman has told the Washington Post, which is something that a lot of people probably don't think about.
Yeah. If you're going in there and you're doing surgery on a brain, you're totally an artist, man. You have the precision of a master artist.
Yes.
At that point, if you're not going in and just slamming into things
That's
you
right.
shouldn't be bumping into, and if you successfully, I mean, look, we had a guy, my daughter, when we first discovered she had brain cancer, she went through a 17-hour brain surgery.
Yeah.
I mean, that's massive, man. And that guy was like 70 years old.
And he did a 17-hour surgery.
17-hour brain surgery. You know, the guy is, I think they called him the Energizer Bunny. That was like their nickname for him because they said the guy just
That's
is
ridiculous.
nonstop. He's just
Imagine
a monster.
how many lives that man has saved.
Oh, dude, tons.
One human.
Tons and tons and
He's
tons
a
of lives.
superhuman.
He's a superhuman. You know, but that guy going through, having to maneuver, not just going in the brain to get out something so that they can go ahead and check it and find out, doing a little autopsy on that thing, biopsy on it, but that to then come out of the brain and then a week later to go in for 17 hours and then to come out. You know, I mean, the back and forth of this, all the stuff they had to do, and now to be able to take technology such as this.
Yeah, it is
and
insane.
to go in. What would they be able to do with things like cancer that really, the way it spreads? The way it goes through those nooks and crannies in the brain, for example, where currently it's a more mysterious thing. What happens when all of a sudden you can get yourself down super shrinky-dinky to such a size that you can actually start to navigate and say, well, this is where it most probably would be, and this is how this happened. Mind-blowing.
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 We're going to talk about it a little bit further after the break, and we also have a caller who wants to bring in Question of the Day. Stick around, please. We will be back right after the 2-minute break.
Now back to Joe and Jeremiah.
Fighting with feminists and commies.
That's right.
Online.
All
Joe.
the time.
You are a wrecking ball, my friend.
You know what?
Powerful.
Sometimes I don't help it. And I got
Powerful.
attacked by hordes of Rihanna fans for posting that I heard a song, Wild Thought Sucks. And Rihanna fans really were upset with me.
Oh, yes. You had it coming from every
so
angle.
Commies, some feminists, and then the Rihanna wave got me all in 1 week.
Well, look, before we bring Ryan on from Coral Springs in Florida, and after saying how happy I am that we have callers from all over the place, you know, I just want to say how grateful I am to the people down in Florida I don't know what company it is, but one of the listeners called and said that her and a whole bunch of the employees were wearing Team Tiny Answer shirts.
That's awesome.
And I failed to mention it last time. We were doing the show last time, totally 100% failed to mention it. I just wanted to make sure that got that out there. And Florida reminded me. And I said, that was totally awesome. And for those who don't know, Team Tiny Dancer, you got to check that out. Team Tiny Dancer is the life and legacy of Samantha Bannister, our daughter, who died of cancer last year. So you can find out a whole bunch of that. Hashtag Team Tiny Dancer. But let's go right now to someone. I'm hoping he's got the right answer. He's got to have it. Ryan's calling from Coral Springs. Question of the day. Question is, what's the question here, Joe?
The question is, what is the company that has the largest distribution of toys?
In the world.
Yep, in the world. And Ryan, do you have that answer for us?
Oh, yes. It's that company that says ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Yeah, man.
Love it. Yes, sir, it is. It is McDonald's, or McDurs, as my girlfriend and I so lovingly call it.
Man.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, there's that jingle.
McDonald's. Yeah, I love that, man. So you do win. McDonald's is the company that is the world's largest distributor of toys, and you get to dip your hands into the illustrious Paleo Radio prize vault. How cool is that?
Wow.
Yeah, you're in.
Yeah, it's a big wow.
And
believe
that wow
me.
was justified, my friend. Just wait till you see what's in there. So we're going to put you on hold so Angela can get your information, and we're going to give you access to take a look at what's all in the prize vault.
And remember, we added some things we talked about in addition today that was given to us by my cousin, and that is there's a whole bunch of cards,
Ron
baseball
Burgundy,
cards,
Anchorman
from
baseball cards.
Anchorman. So if you're into Anchorman baseball cards, and you missed out if you were looking to get the book Cosmos, you missed out. That was taken last week, and God Delusion, a whole bunch of other ones. So we're gonna go ahead, put you on hold. We're gonna Angela will talk with you, get some information, and we'll go ahead and send you a picture of the prize vault. And you can, if you don't see something, I got to say this. If you're looking and you go, man, they got some cool science books or philosophy books or whatever kind of stuff you're into, and you go, but I don't see what I was really looking for, just ask a question. We've had that 2 different occasions where someone has asked a question and said, I saw something related to it, but not exactly, and they brought it up, and they were really glad that they did. Because in one case we had it, and in another case we had something that really, really blew their mind. They posted about it on Facebook,
which was
just recently.
awesome.
Yeah,
which was an awesome picture of him and his kids reading some books, and really cool.
So it was a really personal one. So don't be afraid to ask questions when you see the prize vault pictures. As overwhelming and beautiful and glorious as it is, the Shekinah radiating off of it is glorious. Make sure to ask questions if there's anything you might like. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
I think he's already on hold.
He's already on hold. Angela's already taking care of him.
Oh, she's already out there saying taking care of business.
Again, Ryan from Florida, winner of the Paleo Radio question of the day, and gets to look into the prize vault. So awesome.
It's totally
awesome
amazing.
Job.
And for people who may not have won this time, right, you need to go and just check it out. We have pictures that are available on our Facebook page of the prize vault.
Yes. And let's just be frank here. There are $20 books in this prize vault that you can win by answering our question of the day.
Yeah.
And we have some seriously awesome stuff in there. We have ridiculous stuff too, which is kind of part of the zaniness of doing the show, and which we like doing these morning shows in this time frame. But at the same time, yes, we have things all the way from baseball cards of Ron Burgundy Anchorman all the way up to David Attenborough's History of the Natural World books.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, we have
Life on Earth. Yes, his
Earth.
book, Life on Earth, that book you could set out on a coffee table. In fact, there are probably in our vault, just talking about books alone. There are probably at least maybe 10, 15 books that are books that would be nice enough, significant enough, right, that you could put them on your coffee table in your living room, and people would just be like, "Dude, you're super dope. You obviously listen. You obviously listen to really good radio."
Yes, they'll make the leap from you have the God Delusion on your coffee table. You must listen to some awesome radio.
Yeah, of course, because that just follows, right?
Yes, it does.
If then therefore. So but for real, we have really great books. Some of those are $30 books. We have cards. Some of those cards are $10 cards.
Yeah.
Like it is not a joke. Like you can go in. These are real prizes. When people go, "Oh, you can get a prize." No, we're not joking. For realsies, you can come in and you can go from saying, "Well, I really like what's the DVD Spaceballs."
Yes.
You can say, "Oh man, I really love Spaceballs. That's really hilarious." All the way down to, "I like this Anchorman Ron Burgundy or Ed Harkin card."
Yes.
All the way to, I really like Cosmos or the other Bible, the collection of books that were not included in the Bible.
Yeah.
Like that's actually a significant thing when people are like, "Well, how are those books put together?" And you say, "Well, here's some books that weren't included. You can check those ones."
Yeah.
See how that goes.
Take a little look, see.
A huge, huge, wide variety of things inside this vault. I don't know any other show, TV, radio, anything that has as diverse and lucrative of a prize vault.
And in some cases, as ridiculous.
Yes, totally 100%, man. There's some stuff in there that's just, yeah. But those pictures are available. You can go and you can find that at facebook.com/PaleoRadio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hey, let's continue the conversation about the doctors using virtual reality. We're going to be able to do this topic and probably one more before we head out of here. But I did want to kind of get back into it.
Right.
As of right now, I have a slowdown on the computer. Would you mind taking over for me?
It says, for decades, increasingly sophisticated imaging techniques have allowed doctors to peer into the human body before they cut it open, reducing uncertainty and helping them prepare for complicated procedures.
Wow.
Now, advances in virtual reality may flip that dynamic on its head, allowing doctors to confront the unknown before they even enter the body. The latest evidence of this shift in healthcare is the successful separation of two conjoined newborn sisters in Minnesota. Until their separation in May, I believe it's Paisley and Paislin, maybe, Martinez, were approaching from their lower, were attached, attached from their lower chest to their belly button. So these two girls, born, were stuck together
chest to chest.
From their chest down to their belly button, and that's where they were, and that's known as a very long and difficult name to pronounce, Thoracum Philophagus.
Yeah.
Pretty close, man. I'll give myself a C.
Hence why we're not neurosurgeons and we do radio, right?
I think I got a C maybe on that.
Hey, I'll pass you.
I feel good.
I don't know anything about it, but I'll give you a C.
Well, Dr. Joe, yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad you did that. So, yeah, they've got this crazy condition, right? This very difficult to pronounce condition. Both babies survived the dangerous 9-hour procedure. So, again, very long. A development that Saltzman and other surgeons involved linked directly to their use of virtual reality before surgery. And they were saying this is completely rare. It's 2 times as rare, I think, as 2 full-blown cervical ribs. It is 1 out of every 200,000 live births.
Wow.
To up to 1 in a million. Okay, so that's as infrequently as it goes. 1 in 200,000 to 1 in a million births, depending on how the babies are attached.
Yeah.
Yeah, virtual reality has been used to assist in separation of twins conjoined at the head on 3 occasions, 2 of which, and I didn't know this part, were carried out by Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson. That he used, that's what he used, virtual reality.
Yeah, that he used the virtual reality to help work on it. Yeah,
that's just so insane.
It is.
And as we were saying, like, just think of where this can go. And not even just with life-saving stuff. It's not just with, well, what do we do to keep people from dying in their most urgent situation of need, a crisis point, but also for other things like therapy.
Oh, yeah.
How will they deal? What could that do for studies on infection?
Yes, and the study of how disease spreads, where we know by looking at it to a certain point how disease spread, but we could actually almost be watching it in real time by running simulators. And
you can run simulators
where
and then
going
live through
and,
it.
and guessing to see where it's going to be later on. Or when doctors give you a diagnosis for cancer treatment, they could tell you if you went untreated, this is exactly what would happen to your body and exactly how fast. Being able to take what the cancer is doing, or at least to guess and say if nothing changed and it extrapolated out the way we assume, it would look like this. I mean, it could. There is just so much we could do with this as a technological advancement.
There's so much.
It's insane.
And I've been thinking a lot about this whole virtual reality thing. Maybe we'll talk about it.
We need to.
Yeah, we should. But I'm one of those guys. I wouldn't call myself anti-technocratic. I mean, I'm surrounded by this stuff, right? I am selective about the way that I deal with technology, the way I interact with it. I have a lot of criticisms of modernity and the way that modern people are dealing with technology. But I think, putting stuff to your face in a home, on the regular, I don't know how good that would be for societal things. But if you're a doctor and you have a specific situation where that is a tool that you use, I would probably value it differently. Yeah. And say that has a different impact societally than everybody that's using Facebook getting more into just kind of putting phones to their faces.
Yes. And I can see the phones, the faces, but I also think that people from the yesteryears weren't better at this. They had the same exact problems. There were people that would go down to the bar and drink, and now that we don't have a cell phone, but we've always had the problem with people that don't deal with social problems at home or issues, and they go drink it out, or
Right.
or there's pictures of the boxcars in the 1920s with every person with their face in a newspaper. And I think that technology doesn't help it, but technology also gets blamed for things that are the human condition, I believe, too. That human beings are the reason why the technology doesn't work very well. Right? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's just like anything else where we could think about it like sweets and food. There's no reason not to have it, and you could use it, and it's a technological advancement. But you don't want to use it in complete and utter excess. You know, it's like talking on the phone. But I also speaking of talking on the phone, I do see the idea of people who are completely anti-technology or are against being technocratic. I do see them being the same as people that walked around before their telephone lines saying they're going to bring these big poles and put them together and everyone's going to be able to talk to each other and it's a big mess and what will that do to society? And same thing when television came. And this will be a constant ball rolling issue we deal with past even technology and social media.
And that's why I worry, because that ain't going away. And it's a ball that, because it's a human problem, people haven't taken a breath long enough to even really think it through.
It's true.
All right, we'll be back, folks, with our last segment of Paleo Radio
debates,
right after this.
interviews, or speeches, contact PaleoRadio@gmail.com.
You love to hate 'em, you hate to love 'em. You just can't get enough of 'em, you sick freaks. Paleo Radio's on the air.
It's totally true. Sick freaks. Every single one of you who tune in on the regular for this show, you got the sickness. Yeah. And the only cure comes from listening more. So we've set it up that way. The only way to control the shakes that you get from missing out is to come back to what's giving you the shakes.
That's right.
Yeah, Paleo
Yes.
Radio.
Yes, relapse. Relapse every week on Mondays.
Yeah, relapse every single week. And, so we were talking about two different topics and saying, well, what should we touch on? You know, you've got this ethics issue. Should we impose population controls? We're gonna wait for that one until next week. And instead, we're going to talk about this one, Why It's a Bad Idea to Tell Students Words Are Violence, by Jonathan Haidt and Greg Lukianoff. It's over at The Atlantic. It begins by saying this: of all the ideas percolating on college campuses these days, the most dangerous one might be that speech is sometimes violence. We're not talking about verbal threats of violence, which are used to coerce and intimidate, and which are illegal and not protected by the First Amendment. We are talking about speech that is deemed by members of an identity group to be critical of the group, or speech that is otherwise upsetting to members of the group. This is the kind of speech that many students today refer to as a form of violence. And recently, there was a psychologist, Lisa Feldman Barrett.
Yes.
Yeah, a highly respected emotion researcher at Northeastern University, published an essay in the New York Times titled, When is Speech Violence? She offered support from neuroscience and health psychology research for students who want to use the word violence in this expansive way. The essay made 2 points that we think are valid and important, but it drew 2 inferences from those points that we think are invalid. And that's kind of what caught me on this. Other than Haidt, I like Haidt's style of doing this, but saying, look, I mean, let's point out some valid points, and then let's look at, where did the inferences go wrong?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I like that because I think it's just a detailed way of breaking it down, which is also gives credit where credit is due, because he's saying I'm not wholeheartedly throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
There are things that I believe are right in this, and then there are things that I believe are possibly a stretch. So I think that's a really beneficial way of looking about it and breaking it down.
Yeah, and it says Barrett cited research on the ways that chronic, not short-term, that's in a parenthetical, not short-term stressors, can make you sick, alter your brain, even kill neurons, and shorten your life. And so all that's valid data, right? So if you have chronic stressors in your life, where every single day it's just like a constant thing, then yes, that can make you sick. That can actually alter your brain. It can kill neurons, and it can shorten your life. but follows up with a first invalid inference and says that Barrett used these empirical findings to advance a syllogism. Quote, if words can cause stress, and if prolonged stress can cause physical harm, then it seems that speech, at least certain types of speech, can be a form of violence. He says it's logically true that if A can cause B and B can cause C, then A can cause C. But following this logic, the resulting inference should be merely that words can cause physical harm, not that words are violence. And he says if you're not convinced, just rerun the syllogism starting with this. Gossip about a rival causes those stress. And if you just replace it with gossiping about a rival, or you replace it with giving one's students a lot of homework.
Yeah.
Both of those things result in the same syllogism being true.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It says Feldman Barrett's second valid point lies in her argument that young people are anti-fragile or they grow from overcoming adversity. Offensiveness is not bad for your body and brain. Your nervous system evolved with and to withstand periodic bouts of stress, such as fleeing from a tiger, taking a punch, or encountering an odious idea that's at a university lecture. Entertaining someone else's distasteful perspective can be educational. When you're forced to engage in a position you strongly disagree with, you learn something about that other perspective as well as your own. The process feels unpleasant, but it's a good kind of stress, temporary and not harmful to your body, and you reap the longer-term benefits of learning from it.
Yeah, and he says she could have gone one step further saying this good kind of stress, that it's not just not harmful, it's also sometimes make an individual stronger and more resilient.
Yeah.
So it's not just that it's not harmful. He's like, no, it's actually good. It actually makes you stronger. It makes you more resilient to be able to deal with this sort of thing. And the second invalid inference, according to Haidt, would be this. She writes, quote, that's why it's reasonable, scientifically speaking, not to allow a provocateur and hate monger like Milo, which, by the way, that's what it was one of the main things about, Milo Yiannopoulos, to speak at your school. He's part of something noxious, a campaign of abuse. There's nothing to be gained from debating him, for debate is what he's offering. But Haidt says, but wait, wasn't Barrett's key point the contrast between short and long-term stressors? What would have happened if Yiannopoulos was allowed to speak? He would have faced a gigantic crowd of peaceful protesters inside and outside the venue, and the event would have been over in 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's a short-term stressor.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a short-term stressor. It's also one that I think people would be allowed to have. Plus, I think the stress is more about Milo's arguments about not being allowed to speak than it is what he actually says. I don't find much good content in his actual arguments. I find that he gets a following based on his argument of saying that people don't let him argue. You know what I mean?
And I'll be able to add some substance to that argument because I'm reading his book right now, Dangerous. My one of the listeners of the show, Atticus Prime, that's what I'm going to call him, Atticus Prime. This guy came over to the house. He had the book and said he wanted me to read it and said that I'm welcome to underline and to write in it and to do all of that. So it's a fresh copy of Milo's book, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go through that.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I'll have a lot of things to add to it. But your point's right. Look, he would come in, doesn't have much to offer. Doesn't normally have much to his argument. Very, very savvy people could argue with him very easily, I think, without any real difficulty.
Guys, even to the C level of guys like Larry Wilmore can argue with him and make him look bad.
Right.
Larry Wilmore was a B-level late-night talk show host, and he took him for rounds.
And so, like, there's a point to that. Now, going further, saying that Barrett's argument only makes sense if Yiannopoulos' speech is interpreted as one brief episode in a long stretch of simmering stress on campus. But the argument only works if Berkeley students experience their school as a harsh environment, and that's in quotation marks.
Yeah.
A, quote, culture of constant casual brutality in which they are chronically, quote, worrying about their safety. So maybe that if that's the perception of some students, possibly, but if so, what I was saying, if so, is the solution to change the school or change the perception?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of both. Let's see how this goes. I mean, is Berkeley really is it simmering stress, a culture of constant casual brutality at Berkeley?
No, I don't think so.
I mean,
No, I don't think so. I don't think that Berkeley is dealing with it. Plus, the other thing, too, is Berkeley is a focal point because Berkeley is seen as a bastion of liberal academia, which is why it's a target, too. So the response to this is a little sad that they can't tolerate it, because I don't think that the weight coming at your door is very heavy weight to hold for a guy like Milo or Ann Coulter to come to speak at campus. I also think you do tradesies and you say, we'll get our liberal professor to go speak at the Cato Institute. And when the Cato Institute shuts them down, we will pull a Milo and tell them that they are scared of our debate. And we'll just do this with Christian colleges and organizations and go to all of them and demand to have atheist speakers like Richard Dawkins come into their school and speak.
I think what would break my heart. I think what would break my heart is that those Christian schools' response would be as dogmatically enclosed as Berkeley's.
It would be.
That's what worries me. Is I go, dude, yeah. When you get in that place where you spread it out and say, wow, it's kind of like your policy is really resembling Bob Jones more and more.
I agree.
You can't bring in those people who have those different opinions.
Yeah. And that's why I think you spread the game more and you say, yes, we're totally willing to have Milo come on, and we'll give you a liberal to come on to go write for Breitbart and let him publish for you. For real. And say, no, tradesy. Yes, Milo gets his, for every time Milo comes and speaks at Berkeley, we can have one of our liberal professors write an article for Breitbart. Trade. See how, I think it would be good for everybody.
Yeah, because those groups are, we've said this on the show, that a lot of times the people that make fun of the snowflakes are themselves huge, massive snowflakes.
Without a doubt.
Yes. And I kind of like that we can just call both of them snowflakey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think it's very human to say that these are my sets of problems and I value my sets of problems more than everyone else's. I think that the idea of even calling anyone is, we all have it. I have my issues that I feel are more important than other people's issues too. Mm-hmm. And they're my own personal ones politically that I feel have more weight than others that I want to see happen. But the question is to say that other people that do the same thing, are they snowflakey? How does it? I think it becomes that way when they try to shut down speech. But let's not carry this in with the idea that if you have a guy who's going to come in there and talk about how the Holocaust isn't real, then you can have a conversation about platforms, because that person does not get the same platform with someone who someone who says, I'm going to look through World War II footage and just flatly deny that World War II footage and break it down as being a hoax. That person, yes, that's the time when you go to look at platforming. But when it's someone who has a different political view, even though it's in many cases, to me, I view obnoxious ones that Milo holds, I believe in battering down bad ideas in public. I think you let people voice the bad idea publicly, and then you smack it around.
We're moral animals with selfish genes and righteous minds, and I'm favorable of the Coliseum. I am. Say, look, throw those ideas in there, hash it out, have fun. Make it a good time, especially at a university, to get those ideas out there, to talk it out, to debate it out. And I truly believe, especially now more than ever, that good ideas can rise. And I know it sounds naive for some people. They'd say, well, look around you. No way it's true. I have to believe in that.
I do too.
I really do.
I do too.
That's why we're here.
That's right. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Paleo Radio. We love you very much. We will be around next week, but we are going to be airing at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at night, doing our night shift. So we will see you next week, late at night.
To Public Reality Radio, WPRR 1680 AM Ada, 90.1 FM Clyde Township, 95.3